Hey kids, I'm in the kitchen again, and I'm going to be making some hamburger gravy, also known by a lot of other names, but I'm just going to call it hamburger gravy. Had some leftover burgers the other day from dinner and decided just to use them up for breakfast. So let me show you what we got out for the cook. Alright, I got some grease there if I need it, or you can use some oil if you wish, some salt and pepper, some Worcestershire sauce, some milk. This is whole milk, organic, some condensed milk, some flour, and some chopped up burgers. Over here on the stove, I've got a large skillet heating up, and we're going to start off by making a roux. Making a roux is fairly simple. You need some kind of oil. Today I'm just going to use some bacon grease. We're going to melt that. You can use any kind of oil, olive oil, avocado oil. I wouldn't recommend toasted sesame oil or any of those kind of things. So I've got this over a medium heat, about a 4.5 or so on the electric. Oops, there's my biscuits about done for this. I'm going to just melt this oil here first. Get it nice and warm. And you need about equal parts oil as you do the flour. So we're going to, as soon as that gets a little bit warmer there. There we go. That's what we want to see. Put some flour in there. I'm going to start off with just a little bit at the moment first. Make sure we have enough oil to flour ratio. And then we'll go from there. Stir that in. And that's what you want. You want to be able to have enough oil to incorporate the flour. And if not, just add a little bit more. Since we're making a fairly large pan of gravy this morning, I'm just going to add a bit more. Let that melt in, and then as that melts, then we'll add more flour. Alright, so we've added a little more oil. So we've got a little bit more there. We can add a little more flour. And what we want to do here is just to get it a nice golden brown. I started off with about 1/3 cup of flour, but that's going to be, I think, plenty. Again, you want to just make sure that you have enough flour to oil ratio to where you got all the flour incorporated in that oil. And we're just going to let that flour cook a little bit. Be back in a bit. Okay, so this has been cooking a couple minutes now, and the color has changed. We're starting to get a golden brown on that flour. Now it's time to start adding our ground beef. My ground beef is already pre-cooked. Like I said, this was some leftover burgers from the other day. Just decided to use it for breakfast. This is a good way of making a good use of leftovers without throwing things away. Okay, I think that's about it. I'm going to incorporate this into our flour mixture here a little bit. Season it with a little bit of salt and pepper. I'm using some sea salt, just a little bit, and a little bit of granulated black pepper. Stir that around just a bit. And then we're going to add our milk. I start off with using 1 full can of evaporated milk. And add extra whole milk as needed, which I'll need just a little bit. Pour all that in there. And then we'll top it off here a little bit with some whole milk. Just about to the level I want to have for the amount of gravy for breakfast. So there we go. We're just going to let this cook for a while. It's been about 6 or 7 minutes or so, and it is starting to thicken. Of course, you can let this get as thick as you want. I like mine thicker, so I'm just going to let it cook a little bit longer, and then season to taste. We're going to check it and make sure it has enough salt and pepper in it, and then we might add a little bit of Worcestershire sauce, or you can also add maybe some bouillon, beef bouillon if you would like to. That original recipe calls for that. for the army version of it, but I think that's to taste also. So we're just going to keep stirring a little bit and let it cook a little bit longer and get it a little thicker. It's getting there. Just keep cooking it. So I turned the fire down a little bit to about a 3.5 and just let it boil. And I have to keep stirring it because otherwise it'll stick a little bit on the bottom. And I've been tasting it. I add a little more salt, a little more pepper as needed to our preference. Now I'm going to add just a little splash of Worcestershire. I'm talking about just a splash. That might have been the equivalent to about a half teaspoon, maybe a teaspoon at the most. And it's almost the right thickness that we want. So this is nearly done. In the meantime, I fixed some drop biscuits, which are right there, ready to go. And this will go on top of those drop biscuits, and that'll be part of breakfast. Yeah, this is getting really close to being finished.